By blending Game of Thrones with The Last of Us, one underrated 3-season action series from AMC provides viewers with incredible genre thrills. It is a good time to be a fan of sci-fi television in 2026. Streaming services mean that viewers are getting more small-screen entries into the genre than ever before, and these shows have become more ambitious to match. Although some, like HBO's short-lived The Nevers, don't make it past their first outings, many have been successful enough to spawn entire franchises. From Prime Video's deservedly acclaimed Fallout adaptation to Apple TV's incredibly ambitious Asimov series Foundation, there are numerous shows exploring the end of the world and its aftermath in depth and with style. HBO's video game adaptation The Last of Us, from Chernobyl creator Craig Mazin, is another hit in this emerging genre. However, one of the most underrated post-apocalyptic sci-fi shows from this era mixes The Last of Us setting with the sprawling vision of HBO's Game of Thrones franchise. Debuting in 2015 on AMC, Into the Badlands was an action drama set after the apocalypse. The show followed Daniel Wu's Sonny, a warrior who traverses the titular Badlands 500 years into the future. War has long since destroyed almost all traces of human civilization and, although humans still have electricity, firearms and advanced weaponry have been replaced by swords and crossbows. It is in this context that so-called barons have taken over much of the United States, controlling fuel, water, and other vital supplies to their communities. Into the Badlands mixes post-apocalyptic drama with historical elements. Reducing the remaining humans to slaves known as cogs, sex workers called dolls, and a class of security guards dubbed clippers, these barons rule their respective territories with iron fists. Throughout the show's 3 seasons, viewers learn more not just about this dystopian society but about the warring factions within it and the forces outside the control of the barons who plan to overthrow their tyrannical regime. Much like sci-fi's classic sci-fi series The 100, this is a complex, post-apocalyptic action show that relies heavily on post-Game of Thrones audiences following numerous interesting plot strands. Fortunately, the plentiful action of Into the Badlands ensured the show never got dull, even when its internal politics grew complicated. An unusual mix of the Mad Max franchise and Game of Thrones, the show was a rare post-apocalyptic sci-fi series that spent more time exploring the feudal setup of its new society than following a lone hero from adventure to adventure. Compared to The Walking Dead, the show was unusually patient and complex in its storytelling. However, there was also another pivotal difference between these two shows. Into the Badlands breaks one major rule of post-apocalyptic TV shows. Unlike AMC's earlier hit The Walking Dead, Into the Badlands wasn't a zombie series. Since shows like Netflix's underrated zombie horror Sweet Home, HBO's aforementioned post-apocalyptic The Last of Us, and the later hit All of Us Are Dead have all revived the genre once more since, it can be tough to remember what a deluge of zombie shows and movies there was in the mid-2010s. By dropping this overly familiar element of the usual post-apocalyptic show lore, Into the Badlands stood out in a crowded marketplace. The show lasted 3 seasons until 2019 and remained an effective, unpredictable action thriller throughout, feeling like a futuristic take on Game of Thrones or a more complex version of the straightforward Mad Max franchise. The fact that Into the Badlands was a post-apocalyptic sci-fi series that didn't feature zombies might be the reason it never became as big a hit as the later HBO video game adaptation The Last of Us, but this Game of Thrones-inspired series still deserves recognition for its admirably ambitious storytelling.